You may have heard this, but you don't need an expensive curriculum to homeschool your preschooler. You actually don't need a curriculum at all. Hey, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I am Shadaman, an expecting homeschooling mom of an 8, 6, and 3-year-old. And today's video was requested by one of my subscribers, and she wanted tips on homeschooling a preschooler for the first time. So being that this is my third time around homeschooling, I was like, this will be a great video to look on my channel. So I'm going to give her what she asked for. I will say, if you're new to the channel, I am a stay-at-home mom. I have been a stay-at-home mom since day one. So my children have been learning at home with me from the beginning, right? Just a little backstory so you know who you're getting this information from. I will say I'm not coming off as an expert, but a mom with experience and a mom who took education courses during her college journey. So yeah, let's get into it. First thing first, as far as a preschooler, the age ranges depending on what source you use, but it's typically from 3 to 5, and some programs even start at 2.5 to 4, where most people leave the 4 to 5 range for pre-K. But you don't need a curriculum to homeschool your preschooler. In fact, if we're talking about a child my son's age, which is 3.5, 2.5 to 3.5, up until 4, play-based learning is the way to go. Okay, it is the way to go. Things like following their interests, things like reading aloud to them, things like involving them in your day-to-day, things like engaging them in conversation, right? And just making sure that they have a rich learning environment with different, books or toys, or it could even be posters or something that they can interact with themselves. But at the preschool age, play is learning. Play is how they make their connections. Play is how they seal the deal for things that you've been trying to teach them they won't sit down and listen to. They need to play, right? For so many reasons. So we're going to get into a few things that I've used over the years for my girls, as well as what I'm using for my son, some books I would recommend, some different activities that you can use, and some budget-friendly way to homeschool without a curriculum. So I've already mentioned to follow their interests, right? And if you don't know what I mean by that, it's basically whatever your child is interested in at that moment. They could be cars, it could be flowers, it could be dinosaurs, it could be what do my girls enjoy? Shapes, numbers, colors, whatever the case may be. You can make whatever that thing is and turn it into lessons, fun lessons, right? So create sensory bands around it, create like hands-on activities around it, utilize that toys to help them count and sort and match colors and things of that nature. That's one way to follow the interest. And I feel like when you incorporate your children's interests, you will get so much more cooperation as opposed to trying to get them to do something that they don't find interesting at all. So follow their interests, right? As well as just making sure they're having fun. The thing with preschoolers is they need to move. They want to move. They love the songs like the circle time. They love to dance. They love to run and jump and play, especially little boys. They're super active, and many times they will not sit down for an activity unless it involves those toys that they love, or those cars that they love, or they can go touch, feel something, right? We also got to get a feel of how they learn best, which is something that comes over time. But that's just a little tip. Now, I will say another tip that I can give is to come up with like a rhythm, not a rigid schedule, but just something that your child can look forward to daily. I guess you would call it a routine. So in the morning you do this, you read at this time, okay, you have a lunch, maybe you go outside, and then it's books before bed. Something very, very simple. Not saying super structured at all, because they don't need that, but predictability is something that children look forward to. And once you get in the rhythm of doing something the same every single day, it flows a lot. So the thing with preschoolers it does not take a very long time to teach them anything. For it to be effective and for it to stick, it's best to keep your lessons short, simple, and engaging. And when I say short, simple, and engaging, I mean 10 minutes or less. And it can be throughout the day, of course, right? Because if you're reading aloud to them, that can be in the morning, it can be noon, it can be night. Reading aloud is very, very important. They learn so much from books anyway. But in terms of like a prepared activity for them, Keep your stuff short, simple, and engaging. That's going to be best for them, and that's how you're going to know and be able to monitor whether or not they're grasping it, right? It doesn't take long hours of the day to teach your child something. It really doesn't, but consistency is key when teaching them. Don't start one day, skip 3 days, and then start again. Do a little bit every single day, and you will watch how it builds upon each other, and you lay a solid foundation of learning, right? The goal here is not to enforce rigor, enforce like formal lessons, and force them to sit down. The goal is for them to get a love of learning, to set that foundation, to want to learn. Kindergarten on up, right? So it's a fun time. It's a time where you get to have fun. You get to move with them. You get to do the silly songs, the hand movements, things of that nature, right? So we're gonna get into a little bit of what they look like, but having a routine or like a rhythm, coming up with it, right? It can be you just have your morning and your noon planned out, and the rest of the day is free. That is totally okay. It's just something for your child to get in the groove of knowing what's expected, right? And if your child is anything like my girls were, like they wanted to learn, they needed me to pull out different things. They did enjoy workbooks super early, surprisingly. I know a lot of people be against workbooks, but if your child can handle it and they want to do it, why not let them? I also mentioned that you don't need a curriculum. Preschoolers love play-based learning. They love hands-on learning, and the worksheets and sometimes the curriculums, they're too structured, right? It involves worksheets and stuff like that. Kids like to be hands-on. They like Play-Doh. They like art. They like going outside, nature walks. They like touching things. They like cooking in the kitchen with you, right? They like, did I say Play-Doh? I feel like I already said Play-Doh. But they like things like that. But if you need something, there are a ton of free resources for coloring pages, for cutting pages, places like websites like Teacher Pay Teachers. You have Google. You can create your own worksheets on Canva, PowerPoint. There are free and inexpensive learning resources. Like I have some things on my website, but you don't need an expensive curriculum for a preschooler. It's not necessary. But I do understand that some people need to have something to look forward to. They want to plan ahead. They need some type of guide to follow. And this is when I would recommend themes of the week, right? Theme units, book lists, things of that nature. I love themes of the week for preschool, pre-K ages because it gives you so much to look forward to. It makes it fun. You know, you're learning different things, but it's also like they're getting the experience, right? You can do a ton of field trips and things of that nature with like themed weeks. There are free resources everywhere, and you can use AI to help you. Just 2 days ago, I created a whole curriculum for my 3.5-year-old son, where I put it in Google Gemini, and I was like, create a curriculum for a 3.5-year-old that incorporate themes of the week and also focuses on letter sounds. Okay, so they gave me book recommendations and just simple activities I can do with him. Although I have other things, I just want to see what they came up with. If you're interested in that, just check the description box, and I'll drop that in there just to show you, like, it's really light. Like the day, as far as getting through a lesson, it doesn't take long at all, and it's probably something you're already doing. You just don't know it. Okay, now that I've given the tips, let's actually talk about what preschool focuses on. So preschool focuses on a few different things, right? Focuses on literacy, so that could be letter recognition, letter sounds, identifying their name, learning to spell their name, learning to trace, talking about stories, working on their fine motor skills, which will help them with, you know, writing and things of that nature. As far as math, they're counting, they're sorting, they're working on shapes, they're working on colors, they're starting to identify numbers, they're starting to memorize the numbers 1 through 10, different things like that, right? And that's something you can do around your home. So you can count your stairs, you can count the snacks they have, you can talk about their socks as far as colors, you can go around pointing out shapes, you know, in your house, outside the house. Like a lot of this stuff we do daily anyway if we involve our children with the things we do day to day. Like it's so many fun ways to get these skills in without having a lot of pressure on the babies. And also a big focus is the fine motor skills and the gross motor skills. Gross motor skills include them learning to jump, them learning to kick, them learning to skip. A lot of outdoor play, climb, and things of that nature. Now with the fine motor skills, they're learning to use scissors, they're drawing, they're building with blocks, they're forming the Play-Doh and things of that nature. It's helping to strengthen their hand muscles as far as fine motor skills, and then gross motor skills. Of course, it's involving the full body, and it's a way for them to be active, right? Kids have a lot of energy. So, and another focus, depending on what preschool that children go to, they also focus on hygiene and just like being independent. So, you know, dressing themselves, you know, learning to kind of brush their teeth and things of that nature. So, all in all, based on what I've said, if you are on the fence about homeschooling your preschooler, you definitely can do it. It's not hard at all, and you don't really have to second guess it. You don't need all the toys, you don't need all the expensive equipment or materials or books or whatever the case may be. Like, it's very, very light. So I'm going to get into a few books that I would recommend, as well as some things that we're using, and tell you our top resource for preschool age children. I can just tell you that now. The library, okay? Your public library where you can check out books. They have programs like 1,000 books before kindergarten. They have story time. They have toys there. They have puzzles there. They have fun events just for the preschool age children where they get to mingle, socialize, and things of that nature. That's very important. Kids learn to be social, learning to share with friends, with relatives, with people that they don't know, and just learning to start to manage their emotions, right? Social emotional skills, social emotional learning. That's also a component of the preschool phase. With that being said, the ultimate tip is to be flexible with yourself. Do not compare your child to another child. All children are different. What one learned early, another may learn late. What one strength is, maybe another weakness until they build that area up. And as a mom of 3, I can definitely tell you my girls learn differently from my son, and my 2 girls learn differently from each other. So don't put the pressure on yourself to get XYZ accomplished. You can definitely do it. It is not hard work, but you will second guess yourself. Anybody who homeschool can tell you that. You will second guess yourself, but you can do it. You can do it. So let's get into the books. I wanted to have a few books because I don't want to just be talking, right? If you plan to homeschool for a few years, or you have other kids that you're homeschooling, this is a great resource to use. This is Home Learning Year by Year, and this is a book that says how to design a creative and comprehensive homeschool curriculum. So I went to the preschool page and bookmarked it. And so for the preschool page, it says, nobody needs a curriculum for preschoolers. That's the first sentence. So what do you do with them? You cuddle them, you answer their questions, you play games, you read picture books, you let them bake bread, sort socks, plant the garden, make Play-Doh, finger paint, sing songs, feed the birds, draw with crayons and chalk, play games, go for a walk, okay? Does that sound doable to you? I think it does. I think it does. But one of the most important things that everybody can agree on is reading aloud to your child plays a pivotal role in not only them getting love for reading, but also vocabulary, starting to hear the sounds and things of that nature. But most people would agree that children should know by age 4, like starting to know their numbers and colors and shapes and things of that nature. But through play, they can acquire all of those things. Through consistency, they can acquire and learn all of those things. So that's pretty much the gist of what they said. They only dedicated like 2 to 3 pages to the preschool age because it's just nurturing. The first 5 years of their life is the foundation to set. Foundation that's going to be set for the rest of their life. So it involves us being close, you know, building that relationship, having fun with them, right? Making memories and not making it too hard, not forcing them to sit down if they don't really want to. Over time, you start small with the small lessons, 5 minutes, 8 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, until, you know, you build up that, routine to where they can start to sit, but that's closer to when they're exiting out the preschool age, right? All right, so for my second book, this book also has resources as far as books and magazines and, you know, books for the kids that you can read for them, like word books and stuff like that. So this is a great resource for just K through 12 or preschool through 12th grade. And then another book that I have is What Your Preschooler Should Know. This is about core knowledge, and I love these books because if you don't have a lot of books at home, these come with poems, with songs, with literature, things to focus on, and it gives you a breakdown of things that your child should know, right? So this book, as I said, has poems in here, focuses on rhyming words, beginning sounds, stories. It does go into a little history as well as science and art. And those are the main focuses for this specific book. But I love it because there's so many poems and nursery rhymes in here, even that I don't really know. So it's like, if you want something to have, to be able to look at physically and hold, this is a great resource to use. And they have one for the other grade levels as well. I also have What Your Kindergarten Should Know as well. I don't know what I did with it. I think it's in the closet, but this is getting ready for kindergarten. The focus is on literature, it's on art, it's on bonding. I don't even think it's a section for math in here, but you can do that naturally, okay? Let's get into some of the things that I use. I am really big on books, reading aloud. I start at infants, right? Well, before they're even born, I start reading, but I have some of these board books that I currently use, and I've grown my collection over the years, right? I have my oldest is 8, so these books I have purchased over the years, and we have a whole library, but I wanted to share some of my favorites. I focus on books that have different rhyming words, right? Books that are repetitive, books that are focused on animal sounds, days of the week, things like that. You also include what they're interested in. So my son loves construction vehicles, so I have little books like this. I have books like Chicka Chicka Boom Boom. This is the 1, 2, 3 version. I have little tracing books that we can sit down and do, just to go through the letters, have them, you know, be hands-on with it. You can trace over it. We can go over the sound, you know, things like that. Of course, I have poems and little books that I, you know, recited when I was a child. I have some of the favorites that we really love and enjoy. Brown Bear, which is working on colors and animals, as well as getting books that have realistic images in it. And of course, you can check your local library. There are so many books that you can check out, but the focus is on books where it incorporates rhyming, anything that you want them to learn, alphabets, numbers, colors, shapes, emotions, things of that nature. You want me to share more about the books? I think I've shared already, but I can share again, like on my list or full list or where to get them from. But check out your local library. They have a ton of books. Something else I have in terms of working on letter sounds and beginning to read, I have these My First Bob books. I use this with my oldest, and this is really a gentle approach to learning the letters. So for instance, each book focuses on 2 letters, and it's basically getting familiar with the uppercase and lowercase form of that letter. And then each page kind of covers the beginning letter sound. So Would You Care for Carrot Cake says cow to cat. Just getting the k, you know. Same thing for the second letter, uppercase, lowercase, beginning sound. Very, very simple. So this can be incorporated as well to get them familiar with letter sounds and letter identification. A big thing for preschoolers is learning to identify their name, learning to spell their name, and learning the letters of their name. So it's different activities you can do with that. Name puzzles, name activities, put their name on their clothing, or you know, things around their home, toys and stuff like that. Very, very fun. Something else I incorporate is flashcards. Some children love them, some children don't love them. My girls really enjoyed them, but I do have a video on the flashcards I like. These are the schematics flashcards, and I like to use flashcards with realistic images, just so they can be able to identify what's real life. They can go in and grab the fork, right? Or when we go to the zoo or to the grocery store, they can go identify a yam. I said zoo because it's a iguana right here. But I love these. It comes with letters, numbers, shapes, colors. Yeah, so flashcards are really good. They're very inexpensive. Places like Dollar Tree have flashcards that you could use. That's actually why I got started with my girls' Dollar Tree workbooks, just to see what to cover next. I knew I was going to, you know, be gentle and follow their lead, but in terms of what skills I wanted them to learn, big and small, comparison, learning to cut, Dollar Tree workbooks was a great start for me. So, something else I have collected over the years that I'm currently using with my 3.5-year-old son is very, very simple, right? So I have things like this for him. These are the dry erase workbooks, and I've used this with both of my girls. And basically this is working on pre-writing skills. So they're learning to trace, start off with drawing lines, right? Vertical, horizontal, diagonal. Then they get into tracing shapes, different mazes, tracing outlines. Yeah, my son was working on this the other day. So these are different shapes. He's just tracing the outline, and that's another way, you know, matching trucks. This will be fun because he loves trucks. But dry erase boards, easels, dry erase books like this, very good. I really enjoy being able to use the markers. I know the way it glides or whatever, but it's very, very fun. I also have things like dot marker books. These are left over for my girls as well. But if you don't know what dot markers are, let me see if I can find one. But basically, they use the dot marker to dot the dots on this. 2 letters per page. They can start writing if they're old enough. But I'll probably just cut it and let my son do 1 letter or 2, depending on how he's feeling, right? And it also has some numbers in here. So I was trying to find a page she was working on, but these would be what the dots are, and they help with the fine motor skills. I also have coloring books. Kids love to color, and I just be intentional. This is an ABC coloring book that I've shared before, and we kind of just focus on the different letters, or if you see something he's interested in, I go over the letter sound. It's 2 pages per letter. You're tracing and coloring the first page, and the second page is more things that start with that letter. So very, very simple and to the point. You can tear these out and designate them for different days. With my son, he likes to do a lot. He do what he likes. So I just let him have fun. But I'm still being intentional and introducing letters and letter sounds. Something else I have is a lot of the dollar workbooks from the dollar spot. This is coloring, this is talking about careers. This one is numbers and counting, coloring, and just circling the quantity. And this one is new by Evan Moore. I love Evan Moore. This one focuses on dot to dot, coloring, shapes, matching, tracing in, cutting and pasting. We started on this. As y'all can see, my son loves to cut. He loves to cut, so this is very, very simple. As y'all can see, like with preschoolers, not a lot is really required. They're working on their hand strength, so fine motor skills, sensory bands, little tweezers, Play-Doh. It really helps their hand strength. You don't really expect a lot of writing with preschoolers, but they do like to try. Something else I have is this paint with water. It's basically like what it says from Dollar Tree. Get water in the paintbrush, go over it, and it changes color. Very, very simple. I created these posters for my daughter. These are on my website, but just little posters to go over. Simple. Create your own flashcards, emotions. I also enjoy these Franquist cards. These are very, very good. I shared a little bit more about them in my curriculum picks video, but basically it's a Q&A game, right? You ask them questions, they point to it, or they'll say what the answer is. And my son enjoyed these. He loves to do them any time of the day. He loves to do a lot of these back to back too, but it's a good way to learn. It's questions I wouldn't think to ask him, and it's a lot of learning, no pressure, bonding time. He enjoys it. I'm going fast because my camera's about to die, but based on what I've shown, I haven't shown any art supplies, but things like paint, Play-Doh, dot markers. What are the dot markers? Let me see if I can find one. Those are some things that you can really, really focus on. And of course, puzzles, like the ABC puzzles, the number puzzles, building blocks that have nothing on them, magnetic tiles, the jumbo crayons. These are the dot markers. So So basically, this is the dot. They have to hold it and, you know, dot the correct spot. It helps them break on their fine motor skills, as I said. So all in all, that's pretty much how I homeschool my preschooler. Lots of reading, lots of bonding time, lots of involving him in things I do on a daily. Lots of songs, these posters, circle time, right? YouTube. Kids during preschool phase learn a lot from songs, a whole lot from songs. So incorporate songs, incorporate little hand movements if you do letter sounds. All of these things can be found like on YouTube or different playlists, or you can be creative and figure out the way to reach your child. But as far as an expensive curriculum, I didn't even mention what I used. You don't really need it. You don't really need it. Themes of the week. You can look at different posts and things of that nature. I forgot to mention this. I also created this learning binder for my son. And I used it for my girls first, but it had like animals, letters, the weather, the seasons, transportation, body parts, numbers, emotions, fruit, vegetables, weather, different things like that. Some kids really enjoy busy boundaries, some kids don't. My son don't really care for this, but my girls really enjoyed it, and it was a way for us to get our day started. So you can create that on your own, or I have it on my website. I think it's $5 for the whole learning binder for you to print and bind yourself at home. And I also utilize this preschool curriculum, pre-K curriculum for my oldest. That's how we got started with homeschooling. And I just used the themes of the week. So this one contained like 32 themes. So it's things like all about me, fruits and vegetables, shapes, transportation, community helpers, farms, family, space, deserts, feelings, weather, friends, bugs, dental health, pets, water, spring, season plants. All of these things are things that we naturally talk about, see, hear about, but things of the week give them exposure, right? Of things that they probably wouldn't see, you know, space, especially if they don't watch a lot of TV. My kids have very limited screen time, so I have to introduce them to these things through books and toys and crafts and activities. So, but this pre-K curriculum, I don't think it exists anymore for free. It was free when I downloaded, but now you have to pay thousands, okay, for the whole access to the online program. Like, it's a private institution, but it included things like books and then crafts. So it's like 5 days of lessons, but it's very, very simple. One day said, look at your face in the mirror, draw what you see, right? Read the book, sing hokey pokey with a family member, or when you're talking about body parts, do head, shoulders, knees and toes. This says color the first letter of your name with your favorite things around the house. Having them do a scavenger hunt around the house, putting a letter with their name start with, having them cover that. Very, very simple, y'all. Very, very simple. So hopefully this video was helpful as far as tips. If you want to see a things of the week, like video or printable or something you can download, please let me know. I can create that for you and make it available. But if you are homeschooling from the very beginning, keep it simple. Keep it simple. You want to be consistent. You want to have some sort of routine and some sort of predictability, right? But if you have older children, your preschool is going to learn just from being around. My son is talking about different states, California, Alabama, states that we're learning about. So he's soaking it all in. So don't overthink it. You definitely got this. Let me know if this video was helpful, or if you need a more in-depth video on anything specific I talked about. I forgot to mention this. Field trips do not have to be extravagant for preschoolers. Everything is an experience for them. Everything is exposure for them. Going to the grocery store, going to the post office, going to the library, going to the fire station, going to the art museum, right? Many of these things are free or, you know, inexpensive. So of course, grocery store trips, sometimes we leave our children at home, but I encourage you to bring them. I encourage you to give them a list of things that you have to go in the store for and have them remember it, and also have them pick it, right? It's all about getting them involved. So don't think you have to pay, you know, a lot of money for field trips just to make homeschooling enriching. Their day-to-day is already enriching. They want to wash the dishes. They want to see the suds, right? They want to learn to fold a towel. they want to help with yours, right? They want to do all the things that we think is going to be boring to them. It's new to them. It's adventurous. Their little minds are curious. So don't think because you have a low budget that you can't do this. Yeah, hopefully this was helpful. Out to the park. Get them out to the park. Of course, you can create things. You can create like a play area in your home, but if not, the park is free, right? Nature walks free. Going outside playing in the dirt, it's free. We have a lot of toys here, but you don't need too much. The mega blocks, the Duplo blocks, the little counting bears for sorting and colors. Or if you don't want to do that, use things around your home. Clothing, snacks, print out something, draw something. I was definitely a DIY mom when I first got started because I had a very small budget, okay? So I created a lot of things and it made it feel so much more special because I was creative and my children enjoyed it. So don't be intimidated about a low budget. You don't have a lot to spare. You can make it work with whatever you have, okay? Stay encouraged and know you can do this. I'll see you in my next video.